Hello and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. Now, Simon's had a look at one of the very hard puzzles in the recent Sudoku Grand Prix round, a killer. And I'm going to have a look at another hard puzzle, not theoretically quite as hard, but difficult, I think, because this one is a type that nobody's seen before, or certainly I hadn't seen before this competition. Disguised palindromes. Now the special rule here, 4 lines appear in the grid, and for each grey line there must be at least one way of removing a digit, so that the remaining digits on the line form a palindrome. A palindrome obviously being a string of numbers, in this case, in which it can be read forwards exactly the same as backwards. But, as it says, one of the digits has to be removed to form a palindrome, although has to, not the case, because the last sentence says it's permissible that the digits on the grey line also form a palindrome before the removal step. So, let's have a go at this. I've put the puzzle in our new app, so there'll be a link in the description so you can play it yourself before watching me solve it if you choose to, or just do that instead. That's fine with me. Or just follow along my explanation. Now, I did solve this a week ago, but the interesting thing is I'm not sure if my logic was solid enough or if I just got a bit lucky. So we'll kind of replay that and see where we get to. And maybe you guys can advise me if my logic isn't sound. Things even might go wrong in the solve if that turns out to be the case, because I probably won't go exactly the same way as I did last week. So let's have a go at this and see how we get on. Right, so let's start. There's this 6 here is ruling out the top 3. So what I'm wondering is, where does a 6 go in the central box? Can't go in the top 3 spaces. The next 3 are filled, and 6 there and 6 there puts a 6 here. And actually, yeah, this is the point where it already gets very interesting. And although I got a few more digits in before I got to this point when I was solving it, this is the point where I made what I felt was an important deduction. So, on this line that the 6 has just gone on, one of the digits has to be removed and it will be a palindrome. Now, if that was one of the digits that wasn't this 6 in the middle of the line, then the 6 would become one of 2 middle digits on the line. I'm pretty sure that's right. Whichever other cell you removed, the 6 would be one of the middle 2 digits. And if that was the case, the other of the middle 2 digits would have to be next to it, either here, which can't be a 6, or here, which can't be a 6. So in fact, I think that means that the 6 is the digit that gets removed. Therefore, the rest of the line is a 6-digit palindrome. And in fact, the whole line originally was a 7-digit palindrome, which the rules made clear was possible. Now, why is that useful? Because that means that the end digits, for instance, have to be the same. This one can't be 2, 7, 6, 4, or 8 for the numbers in its column. This one can't be 1 or 5. So it must be 3, 9. It must be 3 or 9 at the end. And that really restricts things down. Let's try with the next digit in. Can't be 1, 6, 9, 4. Can't be 5, 3, 7. So that must be 2 or 8. Does this keep working? 6, 3, 8, 2, 9, 4, 5. So that must be 1 or 7. So although we can't establish any of those individually, that's quite a useful start, and we're doing some quite good restricting. And obviously the notation I'm using here is not the Snyder notation, but what can be left in those cells. Now, we've got a 1, do some ordinary Sudoku here. The only place for a 1 in this box must be here because of that 1 and that 1. And that means we have 4, 2, 3 to put in the first column, and 2 and 3 are ruled out of this cell. So that's a 4. Now, if this was an ordinary palindromes puzzle, we could stick a 4 up here. But although that may be likely, it's certainly not certain in a disguised palindrome puzzle. In fact, you can't really tell much about this line here because there could be a 4 there and something going wrong in the middle, or that 4 could not be on the palindrome, in which case this could be 7, I suppose. Maybe it would have to be 7. No, it could be 3 as well. So I don't, actually I don't really like these kind of liar puzzles. But anyway, now what else have we got? Well, we've got quite an interesting point because of this 3, 9 that we were able to put here, ruling out a 4. Then 4 here and 4 here means this must be a 4. That will mean there'll be a 4 up here, but I don't want to use the Snyder notation to put it in because I might get confused. Oh, look at this cell. 91847 in its row, 635 in its column. That must be a 2, and that resolves one of our digits on the palindrome. Those 2 must be 8s. Does that help? No, not quite yet. Actually, it does. You see, this is very useful as well. Now, what I'm suddenly considering is where can an 8 go in the top right box? Well, it's either there or there. Now, again, by Snyder notation, I would put those in, but that could get us confused with the other candidate notation we're putting in. But what else can only go there and there? 1. 1 here and 1 here, and the fact that this can't be a 1 mean the only place for a 1 in this box, just the same as for an 8, are there and there. So that must be 1 and 8. And hopefully that'll get us going. That means that there's a 1 either here or here. No, that doesn't quite finish anything off, but how about the palindrome on this line? What can we tell about that? We've got a 1 there. So could this be an 8? If that was an 8, then either it would be a liar, in which case this would have to be a 1, and it can't be, or this would be a liar, in which case this would have to be an 8, and it can't be. So that cannot be an 8, and that must be a 1. And again, I think that logic holds up, but I don't find it easy to understand the pure flow of logic on these puzzles. So we've got 1s at the end of that one. Now this 2 that we have filled in on this palindrome line, that could allow a 2 here. Now maybe the question to ask is, can this be anything other than a 4? Well, it can't be 195286. Could this be a 7? Yeah, it could be a 3 or a 7. If the 4 was a liar, this would be a 2, this would be a 3 or a 7. Okay, that doesn't get that resolved. So maybe there's some regular Sudoku we can do at this point. 6, 4, 7, 5. What should I be looking for here, I wonder? Oh, look, there we go. That 1 has resolved the palindrome number there to be a 7 in both those cells. That helps us fix row 5. That's good. That 5, no, 791864. Now this 1 on this palindrome line, obviously this digit can't be the liar anymore, because that would put a 1 here, which is impossible. So this digit is in the palindrome, and it's either a 1 or the same as this, and therefore it would have to be a 3, because this can't be a 1, 6, 8, 9, 4 or 7, and this can't be a 2 or a 5. So this is either a 1, in which case one of the middle digits is the false digit in the palindrome, or a 3. Now that means that the 9 in this box down here is ruled out from those two cells. It must go there. And that puts a 9 either here or here, puts a 9 here or here. I don't know that that absolutely finishes anything off. What that does mean is that over in this box, the 9 can't be in those three cells. That 9 rules it out of there. It must be in column 7, and that means the 9 in column 9 must be here, and that's another palindrome digit completed. So that one palindrome line has been really useful. Now 9 there, 9 there, that gives us a 9 here. These must be 2 and 3 in some order. 6 and 5 to go in up here. 8 must go in there. 3, 6, 2. 1 in column 4 can't be here because of that, can't be here because of that. 1 goes in there. These two are 4 and 7. Now that's is that interesting? What does that mean for this digit? It would have to be either a 5 if the 4 or 7 is the liar, or if one of these three is the liar, it would have to be a 4 or 7. Can't be a 7 in that case, so this is 4 or 5. Now, where else can I look for a bit of progress? 2, 8, 6, 9, 7. So 1 now. That can't be a 1. Is that fair? Yeah, it is. So the 1 in this box must be here. And that means this is a 1 at the end here. So, annoyingly, that means the palindrome liar comes somewhere in the middle. So we can't tell really anything. These two are either the same or one of them contains a 2 or a 3. I mean, that's not really a conclusion we can take anyway. This must be 2 or 3. That's all that's left. And that gives us a pair. These two are 5 and 7. The top one must be 5 because of that 7. Now, does that help in this palindrome? That's interesting. Okay, so that 5 can't match with a 5 here. So the liar either has to be this cell, which is quite likely if these two are 4s, or this cell. And that's not possible because 5 would then be in the middle with that one. Okay, so this is the lying cell. These two must be 4s. Again, I just can't be sure that my logic is right, but I think it is. I do find it, as you can see, hard to be absolutely conclusive about the logic I've used there. We can't tell anything about that digit. Now this palindrome's got very interesting. 4 there, 3, 2 up here. So the 4 must be the liar. This must be 3, 2, 2, 3. That resolves the last digits in column 1. And now I think we're really closing in with a bit of luck. 7, 9, 2 and 8 to place. Yeah, look at that. It's suddenly fallen apart. And I mean, I can tell you it didn't fall apart like that when I was solving it on Friday. I mean, I had a pretty terrible session in the Grand Prix, to be honest. It wasn't helped by the fact that my son's school rang me while I was on the clock. And I had to deal with that and then think about what they'd said as well. So that was quite irritating. But the way things go sometimes, you just can't always set aside time to avoid real life when you're puzzling. Look at that. And then this last palindrome, 1, 2, something 2, 1, doesn't matter what goes in the middle because that'll be the digit that can be removed. 6, 3, and there we go. And I think we're done. And we'll just hit check for repeats. I mean, it's an entertaining puzzle, and obviously I respect the fact that you can have to think about things that you don't normally think about when solving Sudoku. But my problem with kind of puzzles with lies in them, in the sense that these aren't true palindromes, is that it's really overcomplicating the genre. I think one of the beauties of Sudoku is it's quite a simple solve, or it's a simple set of rules. And this is a complicated rule, in my opinion. That said, this was an interesting puzzle, to be fair, and really quite entertaining. I hope you did have a go at it, because it solves very neatly if you find the right path. And thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe if you haven't already, with more content like this and occasional crosswords, and we're very happy to bring these puzzles to you. Good to speak to you, and hope to see you again on Cracking the Cryptic.